John McTiernan et Rennie Harlin et une star en Marcel, Bruce Willis dans le rôle de John McClane. Prise d'otage, détournement d'avion ou attentat à la bombe, voilà le quotidien de l'inspecteur musclé, sous le cuir duquel affleure toujours cette pointe d'humour qui rendit le personnage célèbre entre tous. Pour l'heure, c'est Vincent Lebrun qui vous dit tout, vraiment tout ce qu'il faut savoir sur cette trilogie d'enfer, souvent copiée, jamais égalée.
I'm John McClane.
John McClane, NYPD.
John McClane.
Yeah, I know who you are.
John McClane, plus qu'un simple nom, une griffe, un symbole. Une figure d'anti-héros musclé qui, au beau milieu des années 80, a vigoureusement modifié le paysage du cinéma d'action.
Son of a bitch.
Jesus Christ. It just keeps getting better and better.
Comme le proclamait la publicité de l'époque, Piège de cristal se résume à un argument simplissime. 40 étages, 40 otages. À mi-chemin entre la tour infernale et l'univers codifié du western, Die Hard, littéralement le dur à cuire, doit son existence au flair indéniable de son producteur, Joel Silver, déjà coupable de blockbusters certifiés comme 48 heures ou L'Arme fatale. C'est lui, Joel Silver, qui va imposer Bruce Willis aux dirigeants de la Fox qui ne voyaient en lui que le joli cœur de Clair de Lune, à 100 lieues de l'image de baroudeur désinvolte qu'il fallait pour le rôle. Joel Silver tenait là le moyen d'inventer un nouveau genre, à tel point qu'on peut dire qu'il y a un avant Die Hard et un après Die Hard.
Die Hard, that's the only movie that I can think of that launched a new genre. I mean, the Die Hard in a blank genre, Die Hard in a bus, Die Hard in a train, Die Hard in a boat. I mean, that became a new way of making action movies, was putting, a bunch of terrorists in a situation and then having them try to one person try to get them out of it. And it's become a mainstay of picture making.
Déjà sanctifié à Hollywood par le succès de Predator, John McTiernan s'imposera quant à lui sans complexe aux commandes du film. Un cinéaste assez avare de commentaires sur ses secrets de fabrication.
I sort of have a very simple rule about only work on movies that I'd like to go see, so...
Want to have any secrets?
No, and as soon as somebody tells me, as I say, it's something that's a rule, I try to break it.
Drop it, dickhead. It's the police. You won't hurt me. Oh, yeah? Why not? Because you're a policeman. There are rules for policemen. Yeah. That's what my captain keeps telling me.
Avec Piège de cristal, John McTiernan, plus sûrement qu'il ne brise les règles, réinvente un cinéma d'action presque moribond, transfigure un scénario astucieux qui respecte la règle des 3 unités et donne à Bruce Willis un rôle de redresseur de tort à l'humour pince sans rire. Une image de justicier narquois qui va devenir la marque de fabrique du comédien du Dernier Samaritain au 5e élément.
Mayday, mayday, anyone copying Channel 9? Terrorists have seized the Nakatomi building and are holding at least 30 people hostage.
Attention, whoever you are, this channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
No fucking shit, lady! Do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
How was it to save the world, Mr. Willis?
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, frankly. The real point is that since people have been telling stories, and I'm going back to caveman days, to Roman and Greek storytellers, it's always been good triumphing over evil.
Next time you have a chance to kill someone, don't hesitate. Thanks for the advice.
I seem to be attracted to characters that have problems, that have something innately wrong with them, that they either, that through the course of the film they work out or not. I never get the roles where you're in some tropical island and you're surrounded by women and everything's rosy.
Comme disait Hitchcock, plus le méchant est réussi, plus le film le sera. Dans Piège de cristal, le méchant est plus que réussi. C'est Alan Rickman qui faisait là ses débuts au cinéma.
I was coming from a very different world, and there we met, and then you realize you're looking at another human being, of course. Same problems, same concerns, trying to make the scene work. What am I saying? Why am I here? What am I doing? Which mark do I stop on? Where's the camera? What lens have you got? But I was able to learn from him, and he was very, very generous.
It's pretty tricky with that accent. You ought to be on fucking TV with that accent.
What did you learn from him?
About how to conserve your energies on a film set and how to, you know, take your rests when you need them, because not be like me, just like a puppy, you know, walking around the set the whole time, just so wide-eyed about the whole process. But that was part of it for me. It was all new. It was an adventure.
Et l'aventure Die Hard lui laissera un souvenir indélébile.
It was done at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 times, and it was the last shot that I did on the film. And then I realized while I was doing it, I was the last shot, because if I'd killed myself, it didn't matter, because I'd have got the shot in the can. And that was being dropped from 40 feet from the skyscraper. And that's when I thought, oh, this is Hollywood. If I die, it doesn't matter, because they've got the rest of the performance.
You go ahead.
En 1990, fort du succès de Piège de cristal avec 80 millions de $, Joel Silver décide de remettre le couvert avec 58 minutes pour vivre. Mais John McTiernan préfère se consacrer à la réalisation d'À la poursuite d'Octobre Rouge.
They'd sent me scripts for Die Hard for years, ever since I did the first one, and I didn't really want to pursue them because they were the same movie over again.
Joel Silver décide alors de faire appel au Finlandais René Harlin, qui s'est notamment fait les griffes sur un épisode de Freddy. Die Hard 2 reprend les ingrédients du premier épisode avec par moments des faux airs de pastiche de James Bond, et indéniablement, les origines nordiques du cinéaste donnent une dimension différente à la série.
I spent all my childhood in the wilderness and nature in Finland, which is very visual, very beautiful, and I obviously spent a lot of time in snow. So in several of my new movies, I've gone back to that environment, and maybe it's that sort of landscapes and big open spaces is something that I like to do. Shit! Coming from Finland, from a very grounded, very normal lifestyle. Well, I know, having now been in Hollywood for 10 years, I find it very amusing and sometimes very bizarre. And I think that in my films I do observe things from a little bit different point of view and bring a little humor into it that way.
Freedom. Not yet.
Avec plus de 100 millions de $ de recettes, 58 minutes pour vivre est un triomphe, à tel point qu'Hollywood va enchaîner les copies plus ou moins déguisées de la série. Pour sa part, John McTiernan attendait son heure, il accepte de signer le 3e épisode.
What I liked about this script, which was not initially written as a Die Hard at all, was that I could break the rules on it. It wasn't Die Hard in a building, in a boat, in a submarine, in a bridge, a tunnel, or whatever, in the back of a taxi, that I could, in essence, make a Die Hard that wasn't in a box.
En effet, cette fois-ci, Die Hard investit la ville de New York tout entière. Samuel Jackson, le partenaire de Bruce Willis, se souvient du tour de force que cela a nécessité.
The city itself always becomes a very important character in the film. The urgency of the things we have to do, the magnitude of New York City, the hustle, the bustle, the energy, and the inherent danger of all those crowds being around, you know, if a bomb goes off, adds a real important element to the film.
Le méchant d'une journée en enfer, c'est Jeremy Irons, une expérience inédite pour ce comédien classieux, plus habitué aux performances feutrées.
What did you discover by making a movie like that?
How one is part of the furniture as an actor in an action movie.
Please inform Mr. Liedl. Is that Mr. van der Vlier is here?
Mr. Vanderploeg?
Well, I learnt a lot from McTiernan in how he places the camera, throwing images at the audience, pushing on, never letting them sit still or get a jump ahead.
La manière dont McTiernan parvient à maintenir le spectateur en haleine tient entièrement dans sa façon de filmer. Démonstration.
I think he's dead, my dear.
The montage, the style of the original film was very formal. And this one I wanted to look just as rough and ragged as possible. I often was walking right alongside the cameraman, and if he was too smooth, I'd bump into him. I'd hit him, I'd kick him, or I'd do something to just screw it up.
And you don't go away.
I'm
I'm that fucking Energizer Bunny.
Quant à Bruce Willis, en dehors du régime particulièrement violent auquel il est soumis dans Une journée en enfer, sa participation au film l'a un certain temps laissé perplexe.
It's tough to do a sequel, especially the third sequel after you've done two of them that did well, and everybody says, wow, this third one's probably going to suck, you know. It's hard to know what mistakes you don't think you should make or you don't want to make, and it turned out all right. I mean, sequels are strange things because they're not really new films. It's another chapter in a film that you've already seen, and this chapter turned out okay.
Morale, Bruce Willis a signé pour un 4e épisode. Bref, John McClane n'est pas prêt de rendre l'âme.
You got a problem with that? No. Shit, I don't have a problem with that.
C'est tout pour aujourd'hui. Nous, on se retrouve vendredi.